Welcome back to the Better Learning Podcast. This episode is part of a special series we recorded live at PASBO Conference, also known as the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this year. While we were there, we had the chance to sit down with school leaders, business officials, and partners from across the region to talk about what it really looks like to plan, fund, and support today's learning environments. So in this series, you'll hear a real conversation about the trade-offs, the challenges, and the opportunities that come with trying to build better learning environments. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Better Learning Podcast. I'm here with Lori. Lori, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with me.
Absolutely. You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Let's get right to business first here. Better sports town, Pittsburgh or Philadelphia?
Oh, gosh. I have to say Philadelphia. Hey, this is a nice town, but Philadelphia all the way.
You were just telling me that you had a wonderful time in my city.
I did have a wonderful time in your city. I said it's beautiful, but I also love the Eagles Stadium, Lincoln Financial Field. No, this is an absolutely beautiful city. PNC Bank Park, was very cool to see.
It's a great place, yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. Do me a favor, tell our audience a little bit about your district and the type of work you do for your district.
Okay. My name, again, is Lori McCoy. I am the food service director at Colonial School District. It's on the eastern part of the state in the outskirts of Philadelphia. I'm also a registered dietitian by background, so I oversee 7 schools in our district. We have an enrollment of about 5,700 students, and I've been at my district in this position for almost 20 years.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. 20 years, a long time in that district.
Yes.
Interesting. All right, well, do me a favor. Let's talk a little bit about what food service means from an infrastructure standpoint, but also from a student impact standpoint, because obviously those two are closely connected. Talk a little bit about how you approach your work and how you keep student well-being, faculty well-being, and just the, the logistics of everything, front of mind.
Sure. So it's a big job. I have to say, to throw a little bit of something funny in here, my husband sometimes jokes with his friends and says, "Oh, Lori's job is so easy. She has to decide if hot dogs are served on Tuesdays or Thursdays," and they laugh and they think it's hysterical, and they have no idea how much really goes into it.
And you kick him under the table.
I do.
Yeah.
And he brings it up every chance he gets because he knows I love that joke. And so basically, I'm responsible for the overall operation. We serve breakfast and lunch, again, to 5,700 students daily. We have vending operations. We do catering. And so a lot for principal meetings or school board meetings we'll do catering for. But our goal really is to make sure that every student that comes through our line has a healthy, nutritious meal, and to make sure that as many students as possible eat with us. So we do offer free reduced price meals for students based on income levels if they need that. Because honestly, sometimes the meals that students get at school, for about 25% of our students who are on the free and reduced meal program, that's sometimes the only meal that they get during the day. And so when we think about the meals and the logistics, sometimes we only have 20 minutes for lunch from students to come to the serving line, get their food, sit down, eat, and then they have to be out at recess within the next, all within a 20-minute time period. So we have to think about the flow of the line, the staffing, how many employees we need. We have to think a lot about our space and how we can most efficiently serve the students in the time frame that we're allotted. I also work with students with food allergies, do a lot of human resources related work with our employees, responsible for all the finances for the whole district cafeteria operations. And then I also, a big backbone of it is our kitchen. So I put out bids and specifications for kitchen equipment, and I've worked in the past on redesigning some of those kitchens to make sure that we can have, again, as I mentioned before, the best flow and the best setup for the students to come through. So.
Well, I'm going to follow up on that because I'd like you to...
It was a mouthful.
No, it's great. It's just a great insight and a good overview of the type of work you do. You wear a lot of hats in your role. Talk a little bit about the significance and the impact of eating together and spaces where students eat together on well-being, on connectivity, on just school life in general. Why is the work you do, I know because I'm an educator, but just for our audience, talk a little bit about why the work you do really impacts school life.
Starting from the environment, when students first come to the cafeteria, we, from day one when I started there, I really wanted to change the look of how cafeterias were historically perceived. So not only the food was school food, I want to make sure that our food is restaurant. I wanted people to think of our school meal program as restaurant style food. when they come through the cafeteria, I don't want to have that institutionalized look where everybody comes through together and goes through like a cattle chute type of line and then sits down. It's really important. It's the one time of the day that the students have to kind of let go and just take a break from class. And so being together with their friends is important. And so we want them to also be in an environment that reflects what they see on the outside when they go and hang out with their friends and have the opportunity to relax. So we really want to try to change the perception of school cafeterias, because we all know there is one, to something that's really important, because honestly, we're working in a school district, and at the end of the day, if students are hungry, they just can't learn. So people don't always think of food service as, the most important. But when you think of schools, you think of textbooks or, curriculum, instruction. But we really do play a vital role, and I try to relay that to my staff members every day, because you're feeding students. If they're not eating, their stomachs are growling in the classroom. They're just not going to learn. And so we're all interconnected.
And paying attention to the atmosphere of a space, it can build community, it can build empathy, it can make students, as you said, discharge some of that anxiety that they carry throughout their day. So I've seen it firsthand, but I also know that the evidence on communal time together is good for social bonding.
Yes.
So I love to hear that that's really, at the center of the work you do. So really cool. I also can imagine that you've seen a lot of wild things.
Yes.
And a lot of things that probably keep you laughing at work, right? Talk a little bit about, how you communicate the work you do to the other constituents in your district, because you have a business manager, you have a facilities manager, you have a superintendent, you have, as you said, educational people. How do you tell the story about the work you do in a way that integrates with the way they think about it?
So I'm thankful that in my district, they invite me as a food service director to the administrative council meetings once a month. So I always give updates. I always talk about what we're doing in our department. I send information, financial reports to our school board members every month, so they're aware of where we stand from a financial standpoint. When I'm working with school nurses on student allergies, pupil services is involved. I meet with all the building principals. If I'm in their school, sometimes I'll pop in just to see how things are going. And, especially when it comes time for students to take their tests, like the Keystone and all the Keystones and the PSSAs, they all know how important it is that those students have breakfast in the morning so that they can get better test scores. So I'm
not just a Pop-Tart.
Not just a Pop-Tarts are the enemy from our parents' standpoint. Students absolutely love them. We just try to, it is important to tell our story. We work with our communications director, and we try to put a lot more on social media of what we're doing. We're using local beef, and we're hand pressing our own burger patties. We're putting them on the flat top grill. We're not, we've shied away from so many of the frozen pre-made products. We're making our own scratch marinara and scratch cheese sauce, again, because this is all good for the students. Of course, we needed to look at our kitchen layout and get some more equipment in there so that we were able to do this, but it's all beneficial for the students. It reduces the sodium when we're scratch cooking. It reduces the added sugars. And so we put a lot of information out there through our communications director, and she puts it out to parents and students, and she shares a lot of that.
That's awesome. Well, it's just great to have you on the podcast. Do me a favor. Let's end with a fun question here.
Okay.
All right. I don't know what this is going to be.
Oh, I get to pick.
You get to pick.
What's the most common thought in your office at 4:59 p.m. on a Friday during a school construction project? Is there going to be operating, is there going to be space or available operating equipment to be able to feed our students breakfast when they return on Monday morning at 7:30? How are we going to make sure they still get breakfast? Or how are we going to make sure they can get to the area? Are we going to have to take on getting breakfast to them through the classroom? And that brings, of course, a bunch of other logistical challenges.
It's awesome. Yeah. It's been great to have you. Thank you so much for sharing some of your expertise and your perspective. And I hope you have a great conference.
Thank you.
The Better Learning Podcast is produced by Matt Rogers and edited by Kelly Jones. The views and opinions shared on this podcast are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily represent the perspectives of their affiliated companies, organizations, or associations.